Thank you very much. Well, Clemens cannot hear your applause, but we will tell him that you applauded. Well, thank you very much for the kind invitation. I thought that even before Trump and the collapse of the German government, when I was invited to chair this conference, I thought that was an excellent program, because these are the issues that we need to focus on. Now, without a German government and with the election of Donald Trump, I think all these issues have become quite a bit more urgent. And I think Clemens made a very good start on, even if it was a bit of a depressing start. So we are curious to hear whether Kerstin Jorna has a bit more optimism for us on where this is going. Kerstin Jorna is the DG, Director General for the Internal Market Industry and SMEs. She has had various roles in the Commission before, among others in the cabinet of Michel Barnier, even though I think she dodged the bullet of having to negotiate Brexit. But most importantly, she was already in the Commission in the 1990s when the single market took shape. And so I'm very curious to hear what you make of the current discussion around the single market and competitiveness. And welcome you to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Herr Hinterdobler, vielen Dank für die Einladung hier. I also start in German. Dear President of the IFO Institute and collaborators, it's an honor for me to be part of this esteemed conference that concentrates on one of the important topics for the EU. How can we make the single market deliver? Know thyself is the well-known philosophical maxim inscribed on the Temple of Apollo in ancient Greek precinct of Delphi. And that's still true today, especially in a time where it seems fashionable to indulge in pessimism or to catastrophize. I was at another event this morning where, the short version is, you can't do it. Sorry. Where the short version is, you can't do it. I think if you only focus on the negative side and why something is not possible, that's misleading. And, you focus too much. You should have an open mind. And that's why conferences like the one today, even the one this morning, are actually good, because it opens your horizon. Like Michel Barnier always used to say, you have to lift the horizon when you're in a difficult patch. So I would really like to present something I would call a balanced perspective. It means we need to acknowledge the challenges that we are confronted with, but also be aware of opportunities and our strengths. And I would like to do three things in this opening address, is to shine a light on what we see, what we need to fix, and what we need to treasure. And I believe that these reflections can help to answer the question how we can dynamize the single market to create prosperity. Remember the title of our new commissioner, my fifth commissioner, French commissioner, it so happens, is prosperity. This is really what it is about. So, what we see. This is kind of holding up the mirror. Europe has always been a powerhouse of industry, enterprise, and innovation. For a simple reason. We don't have raw materials. So, we have to compensate with that. And at the heart of this strength lies the single market, which is key to our competitiveness, was already mentioned. It's not just a treasure, it's a treasure underexploited. Because it's the size of our market that allows us to speak with a strong voice on the global scale. We're the biggest exporter in the world, 16.5% of our GDP. We're the hugest single market. We must therefore do our utmost to deepen the single market, boost EU's productivity, and support our prosperity and social market economy. Today, the overall sentiment in the EU remains challenging, and we've heard that already, but there are also some rays of sunshine among the clouds. Confidence in sectors like services and retail actually aligns with historical averages, and in construction, it's notably higher. the confidence. And the situation in the industry is also not all doom and gloom. The latest industrial production data from Eurostat shows a 1.3% increase in production from July to August in the EU. And that's the sharpest rise since last December. But what's there to fix? I'd like to look at 5 elements. The first, make it simple. We must fix existing legislation to reduce regulatory burdens, hurdles and administrative burdens. The adage, and it's still right, is that one EU law replaces 27 national laws. But somehow we've managed to leave so much place with the EU laws that a lot of national implementing regulation grows very spontaneously. And that kind of cancels out the effect of one law removing 27. All commissioners are tasked to stress test the acquis, so their existing legislation in their existing portfolio, and to eliminate overlaps and contradictions in legislation whilst maintaining high standards. Implementation dialogues and reality checks are new, and they will allow a closer engagement of stakeholders in this process. It's a bit, we copied a bit the German idea of a praxis test. Our goal will be to reduce reporting obligations by at least 25% and at least 35% for SMEs. For any new legislation, we will introduce a new SME and competitiveness check to help avoid unnecessary administrative burdens. To deliver better and faster solutions, we will also leverage the power of digital tools. Second, speed. When you ask companies, what do you need? In terms of decisions, they say speed, 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 normally. Sometimes they have speed, speed skills, but it's in the S range. So we need to continue to fix and speed up the permitting procedures. We've taken the first steps to make permit procedures more streamlined and predictable, particularly for critical industrial projects everywhere in Europe. Because before, the adage was Europe regulates, member states implement. And they implement in these very, sometimes Byzantine, very creative ways. So it was not a single implementation. And it was called subsidiarity. Now, with the Net Zero Industry Act and Critical Raw Materials Act, we pushed away the veil of subsidiarity, and we introduced single procedures, permitting procedures for Europe, the same and the single permitting procedures in Europe. The Net Zero Industry Act obliges member states to clear proposals within 18 or 12 months based on the project size. Member states need to assess various aspects simultaneously and not sequentially, and give adequate priority to the proposals that are vital for decarbonization, the strategic projects. For raw materials, Critical Raw Materials Act, carefully selected strategic projects must receive an answer to their permit within 15 months for recycling and processing and 27 months for extraction, by bundling procedures where possible. And we plan to introduce similar clauses in the forthcoming Industrial Decarbonization Accelerator Act. Now here we talk about regulations, which means that member states cannot say, I need to take time to adjust and to implement, my administrative procedures. Regulation overrides. So if you're not ready, for this particular project in this particular location, it's directly applicable EU rules. My third point is scale. The costs for green and resilient products will come down if they can be produced at scale. That's economics. Simple. We need to fix lead markets for low-emission European products through well-defined standards and smart procurement. The Net Zero Industry Act incorporates aspects of resilience and sustainability in the provisions on access to markets, in particular public procurement of net zero technologies. Setting green definitions can also be used to create scale for innovative products via incentives for final consumers to purchase green or local products. Furthermore, we will promote local content requirements in public procurement and supply chains. Lead markets will also be important for sustainable mining, because the market for sustainable mining is not yet there, not yet. Too often companies, including European ones, go for the cheapest inputs. This means we can not only act on supply and production, but we also need to work on demand. And our Commissioner, Stéphane Séjourné, designate, insisted very much on the need to look at supply and demand at the same time. The Critical Raw Materials Act lays down clear measures to look at a critical raw materials environmental footprint and to recognize sustainability schemes. But we can't do this alone, obviously. We need to build a broad coalition of like-minded countries to develop these ideas further. And for that purpose, we are working with our partners to sketch out the design of sustainable mining for tomorrow. And actually, if you take nickel, sorry, I have it in my handbag, but I have a little nickel piece, green nickel, and that's a premium market in itself. We are trying to decouple from the nickel market, which is currently suffering from huge price implosions because there's a lot of nickel being pushed onto the market, not very sustainably produced, which crashes all the business cases for nickel extraction and refining. But as we need nickel for defense purposes, for batteries, for all stainless steel, and we're not the only ones. The US needs, Japan needs, Australia, Canada. So we are trying to create a market, a separate market for green nickel, where we define together the standards and where we'll be able to leverage our demand side, 300,000 tons in the EU every year, to actually promote that type of raw material and make it separated also as an investment case from the price volatility of the nickel market. My fourth point is energy. We need to fix the affordability of energy while strengthening our business case for decarbonization. European energy prices, everybody knows it by now, particularly for electricity, are 2 to 3 times higher than in places like the US, and that impacts our industrial competitiveness. Industry and households need abundant, affordable, renewable energy at the gate, factory, or my door. Fortunately, both solar and wind energy are cheaper than carbonized fossil energy and nuclear, and the business case for decarbonization needs to be strengthened by managing the relevant risks. An example I want to cite here is the innovation risk, which is associated with new sustainable products and services to be developed. The Industrial Decarbonization Accelerator can address these issues and improve the business case by reducing the risk involved. Take hydrogen. Hydrogen Bank. We are financing the difference between the price at which hydrogen can be supplied, green hydrogen, and by which the price for which it can be bought. Fifth, level playing field. Our objective is free and fair trade, meaning that non-EU manufacturers should play by the same rules as EU manufacturers. We are open for trade on our terms. However, imported goods pose new challenges to the single market as they reach consumers directly through e-commerce. Figures are telling. 1 billion e-commerce packages entered the EU in 2022, 2 billion in 2023, and we're expected to go for 4 billion in 2024. So, doubling every year. That means every day 10 million e-commerce parcels with an average value of less than 10 euro per item. We can face these challenges with the instruments already available in our toolbox, such as the Digital Services Act, General Product Safety Regulation, and, where appropriate, trade defense instruments. New tools are also in the making with the upcoming EU customs reform and direct interconnection between customs and market surveillance authorities across the EU. These tools will not only allow for better individual control, but also for greater systemic control, helping us to strive towards a more global level playing field. Products placed on the single market must comply with the EU standards, irrespective of where they come from. And we must ensure that rules are respected through effective enforcement and market surveillance, because otherwise we don't have a business case for green products. If only some respect the more stringent production criteria and others don't, then there is not a business case for the more stringent ones. And my third point is what we need to treasure. As I said at the beginning, the single market is something we need to treasure. We need to value the entrepreneurial spirit that allows to thrive, the laptop and lederhosen spirit. BioNTech in Germany, co-developer of one of the first mRNA vaccines against COVID-19, showcases how the single market can nurture life sciences innovation, benefiting from collaborative research ecosystems that the EU fosters. We should treasure our open borders. During COVID-19 crisis, when member states adopted extensive travel restrictions going all the way to entry bans, we all realized how important smooth border crossings are. EMERA has just been published in the official journal, which is our instrument to safeguard the single market also in crisis times. There are nearly 2 million cross-border workers in the EU. In some member states, such as Luxembourg, as many as almost half of the workforce are commuters from neighboring countries. It is therefore a worrying signal that a few member states are now expanding border controls. Significant policy steps forward also need to be treasured, such as the emission trading scheme, ETS, as it exemplifies both strength and innovative capacity of the EU to use the single market to solve the challenge of climate warming. By setting a cap on the total amount of certain greenhouse gases that can be emitted by installations, the ETS effectively puts a price on carbon, incentivizing companies to reduce emissions in the most cost-effective and innovative way. In conclusion, it's united that we can thrive. I'm saying we for a reason. We are in this together. Unlocking the single market's full potential requires collective effort from all of us. And there's a new renewed momentum to complete the single market. I read with interest your study on the services and the data, how services actually contribute to growth, economic growth as well. Our executive vice president designate Jorna said during the hearing yesterday, in the first 200 days, we will present a new single market strategy. This strategy will focus on developing the single economic space with an integrated rulebook, single rulebook, including on what was formerly reserved to subsidiarity. We need to look at that. Allowing scale up for these innovations, these innovative solutions to decarbonize the economy, allowing them to scale up quickly. And I want to invite you all to be part of this endeavor. We will launch a call for evidence on the Commission's Have Your Say portal very soon, which will be available to everybody to provide their views. And on top of that, we will use all our different forums, fora, expert groups, stakeholder dialogues to proactively solicit insights and contributions. The call also goes out to member states, stakeholders, social partners, and citizens. Together we can build a brighter future where borders are bridges, not barriers, and the potential of the single market is unleashed. I count on you, and thank you for having me for this conference. Thank you.